After a grueling battle with the Canopian Special Forces Group, the Ost Lance was forced to retreat back to their dropship. The Ostrock had lost an arm, and the other mechs had suffered significant damage. They had suffered a major defeat against the Canopians, and they knew that they had to come up with a new strategy. The rest of the day was spent repairing and rearming their mechs. As night fell, the Ost Lance worked tirelessly to get their mechs back in fighting condition. The sound of metal clanking and wrenches turning echoed throughout the dropship as they worked through the night. Finally, as the sun began to rise, the repairs were complete. The Ost Lance was ready to re-engage the Canopians. They deployed the Ost Scout once again for forward recon to gather intel on the enemy's defenses. He detected several mechs and vehicles scattered around the outskirts of the city. As the Ost Lance moved further into the city, they were met with stiff resistance from the Canopian mechs. The Ostrock, with only one arm, struggled to keep up with the other mechs, but its pilot was determined to press on. The Ost Scout made a bold move to join the Ostrock on a flanking maneuver to assess the Canopian forces' position. The Ostrock moved slowly, its missing arm leaving it vulnerable to enemy fire. The new recruit's heart raced as they scanned the area, searching for any signs of the Canopian forces. The Canopian mechs were on high alert, their weapons at the ready. The Ostrock and Ost Scout continued to move cautiously, trying to avoid detection. But as they closed in on the Canopian forces, the Ostrock's sensors detected a weakness. The Canopian mechs hadn't been able to repair or rearm since their last encounter. This presented a golden opportunity for the Ost Lance, and they didn't waste it. The Ostwar and Ostsol moved forward, their weapon systems aimed at the enemy mechs. The Canopian forces returned fire, but their weapons fell short, unable to penetrate the Ost Lance's armor. The Ost Scout moved quickly, using its speed to outmaneuver the enemy and draw their fire away from the rock. The Ostrock, forced to take a more defensive position, used its remaining weapons to keep the enemy mechs at bay. As the battle raged on, the Canopian mechs began to move forward, trying to get in range to use their own weapons. The Ostwar and Ostsol continued to engage the enemy from a distance, using their long-range weapons to deal devastating blows to the Canopian mechs. The Scout provided support to the Ostwar and Ostsol, its laser fire taking out any infantry and lightly armored units that tried to flank. The Canopian mechs, realizing they were outmatched, attempted to retreat. But the Ost Lance wasn't about to let them escape. The Ostrock, missing an arm and still heavily damaged, managed to catch up to the retreating Canopian mechs. The Canopian mechs turned to face the Ostrock, their weapon systems aimed at the damaged mech. The Ostrock took a more aggressive stance, charging towards the Canopian mechs and unleashing its remaining weapons. The battle between the Rock and the Canopian mechs was fierce, with both sides taking heavy damage. The Canopian mechs managed to land a critical hit on the Ostrock, damaging the mech's remaining arm, but the Ostrock was determined to keep fighting, unleashing a barrage of fire on the Canopian mechs. The battle was intense, and both sides fought hard. The Ost Lance was determined to avenge their previous defeat, and the Canopian Special Forces Group was equally determined to defend their position. The War and Ostsol moved in with their long-range weapons, taking out several Canopian mechs before they could get close enough to do any damage. But the Canopian mechs were determined, and they pressed on, their weapons firing furiously. The Warhammer suddenly appeared on the battlefield, its massive form casting a shadow over the other mechs. The Ost Lance was caught off guard, and the Warhammer unleashed its twin PPCs and quickly took down the Ostwar with a well-placed shot. The Cataphract, which had been damaged but not destroyed in the previous battle, suddenly emerged from behind a building, firing its AC weapons at the Rock. The Ostrock, already weakened from the previous encounter, was unable to withstand the barrage of fire and went down as well. The Ost Scout, still in the fight, used its laser to take down the Cataphract, but it was clear that the Ost Lance was outmatched, outgunned, and defeated. The Warhammer continued to rain down fire on the remaining Ost units, its massive frame making it intimidating and seemingly indestructible. Just as it seemed like all was lost, the Ost Scout noticed a weakness in the Warhammer's armor. With a swift and daring move, the Ost Scout fired its medium laser at the exposed section, causing a massive explosion. The Warhammer was taken out, and the Canopian mechs were forced to retreat. The Ost Lance were defeated once again, and the battle had taken its toll. The Ostwar had been destroyed, and the Ostrock had suffered significant damage and deemed unsalvageable. The dropship informed the Scout and Ostsol pilots that their comrades had ejected before having their mechs taken out. They knew that they would need to be even more prepared for the next encounter. Not only are they trying to defeat his brazen Canopian force forming on the border of the Taurian Concordat, but now they must search for their comrades, making sure they come back in one piece.